Today on the podcast, we're going to look at the question, how do I approach Oga at a wedding without looking like a beggar? Again, let's say there's been this guy, this bigger boss, or this chairman, or this chairwoman, this big sis, whoever it is, minister, a potential investor, potential buyer, potential whatever. The person is a certified Oga at the top. And I've been trying to get this person's attention. And we're currently at a wedding. And I want to now approach Oga. I want to now approach this person to move my agenda forward, to move my ministry forward, to close the deal, to do whatever, to network. How do I approach this person at a wedding without looking like a beggar? Now, this is a follow-up question because lots of times in the podcast, my earlier episodes, I've spoken about how, you should not be an irritant, you should not be a beggar, because, Nigeria we day. You're supposed to hold yourself to a certain, how will I put it? You know how Yoruba people like to say packaging. You're supposed to package yourself. So it is a legitimate concern that you're trying to approach someone at a wedding or at some other social function, but you don't want to come across as a beggar. But still, you want to be able to move the agenda forward, move the business forward, move whatever it is that is on the table. Now, before we tackle this question, let's do a couple of definitions because I want to make sure that we're all on point. Oh, by the way, I'm making today's recording still on the family holiday for Christmas. And of course, I'm at home in the villa, so there's going to be noise all over the place coming through the background. So, if you hear any chickens or if you hear children running around, things like that, it's because I'm at home and everybody is here. In fact, all my cousins, because Momsy's place where we're staying is a place where there's solar, because everybody else is using gen, and it's hot in the afternoon and it's hot as hell, as in, temperature entering like 40 something, like it's mad. Mahmoud is really hot. So, because we have solar here now, all my cousins, all of them, they came to come and drop all the children here. As they see all these people, see wickedness. They drop all the children in the house and all of them took off. So right now, Momsy's in the living room with, like 15 kids. Like it's mad out there. But anyway, when I finish here, I'll go and join her. Let woman not go insane. So basically, yeah, there's going to be some noise in the background. Now, my name is Tavashima Ayede. I'm the host of this podcast. I'm a former lawyer turned business consultant. And I am the host of this podcast, which is the most prolific business podcast on the African continent. I didn't make that up. I saw it on the internet. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah, actually, that is pretty true. It's pretty effing awesome. So yes, I am the host of the most prolific business podcast on the African continent. So it doesn't matter. Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, Egypt, where else? Anywhere. Nobody passed me. So if you love the kind of topics that you are currently listening to here right now, approaching people so you can move your business agenda forward, or if you're currently scrolling through the list and you're seeing a couple of questions that are being addressed, if you like these sorts of things, then subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple, or any player of your choice, just so that every single time an episode drops, you get the goodness. Then, if you'd like to connect with me, you can call, send me a text message or a WhatsApp message on 080-6466-2140. Please get in touch, especially if you're interested in the series of trainings that we have from the 12th of January to the 23rd of January 2026, where we're going to be teaching people, my business partners and I are going to be teaching people how to sell effectively over the phone. So in this case, we're now talking about how to approach Oga at a wedding. And there are times for that. But assuming that you haven't jammed Oga at the wedding yet, how are you going to use the phone to approach Oga, to introduce yourself to Oga, to begin the conversation with the Oga, to try and do need analysis over the phone, to try and see if there's some suitability, to try and see if there's some meeting of minds between what Oga stands to achieve and what you also want to achieve. How do you make an effective presentation over the phone? How do you make an effective proposal over the phone? How do you secure the next appointment over the phone? How do you move the agenda forward over the phone? These are the sorts of things that we're going to be looking at during the training on the 12th to the 23rd of January 2026, so that we can all move our businesses forward and we can move to the promised land next year. That's what we all say, Abby. Just like when it comes to December 2026, we'll now all be saying the same thing about moving forward in 2027. Well, anyway, the only way to guarantee progress and to guarantee forward momentum is to make sure that we're continually learning and we're continually growing. So whether you pay me money for the training on the 12th of January to the 23rd of January 2026, whether you pay me money for that training or not, subscribe to the podcast and be learning here for free, because these are the kind of topics that I talk about over here on the podcast every other day. And that is what has made me Africa's most prolific business podcast, because we've been doing this for 5.5 years. By the time we enter 2026 now, by the time we are nearing like that kind of March, we'll be like 6 years in the game. Over 1,300 episodes. Like I said, it's effing awesome. Nobody prolific past me. Not possible. Not possible. All right, so enough of the bragging, enough of the boasting. Definitions now. Who is an oga? Because there are some people who listen to this podcast who are not Nigerian, obviously. In fact, there was one guy, one bros, who I think is involved in investment banking in America, and he listened to one podcast episode, and the way that the guy commented, I could tell that this guy listened to the podcast from beginning to the end. I was now feeling bad that, I make this podcast for a Nigerian audience, and so because of that, I just relax. And, I talk casual, and I figure that sometimes I must say some expressions that, Americans or South Africans or Koreans or yes, there are people in Korea who listen to this podcast, surprisingly, Korea and China. So I must use expressions that will be hard for them to understand. So please, for my listeners who are listening in from other countries, please don't be annoyed. I beg, no vex. No vex means, don't be annoyed. If you always have questions, that's the reason why I give my phone number at the beginning and at the end of every single podcast episode. So for those of you who are foreigners, you can shoot me a message. I listened to this podcast. You said this. What did you mean by that? And then we can talk some more. In fact, it might even give me some ideas about other podcast episodes that we might do, because I might say something, in Pidgin, or say something in Yoruba, or say something in Hausa, or whatever, and there's an interesting corollary, maybe in Japan or in South Korea or in whatever. So I can come back and make another podcast episode where we explore some of those issues. So for those of you now listening from South Africa, listening from America, listening in Korea, Japan, where else? Botswana, where else? Do people listen to my podcast in Australia? Okay, I don't think I've seen Australia on the charts in a while. And you're wondering, what does Oga mean? Since I'm talking about approaching an Oga at a wedding. Oga, in this part of the world, in Nigeria, just means a high net worth individual. Somebody who is solid. Somebody who is stacked. Somebody who has paper. Somebody who has money. Somebody who has access to capital. Somebody who has access to influence. That is what we mean in this part of the world. When a Nigerian says that this guy is an Oga, that is what they mean. So that's why right now nobody calls me Oga, because I don't have access to capital yet. And I don't have access to influence yet. But in another 5-10 years, when I reach my promised land, people will be saying, have you seen Oga Darishima? Because then I will be someone who has access to capital. When people see me, they will see money. As I am walking, bam, 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 people will be seeing pounds, dollars, sterling, just matching. When that time comes, they will call me Oga, because I have access to capital. In another 5-10 years, I'm going to be walking into corridors of power. In Aso Rock, they will know my name. In Lagos State House, they will know my name. In Benue State House, they will know my name. When that time comes, when I'm a person of influence, people will be calling me Oga, because I have access to capital. I have access to influence. And I am a high net worth individual. As in, when that time comes, if you open my bank account and you see the numbers there, you will just be like, yay! The figures will be so big, it will be painful to see. Your eye will be tearing up, your eye will be watering because you will have never seen so many zeros in your life. Now, in Nigeria, when we say Oga, that is what we mean. High net worth individual and people who have access to capital and who have access to influence. So people are always continually trying to court Ogas, high net worth individuals, because you're trying to achieve business growth, because you have political ambitions, because you're looking for seed investments, all kinds of things. You're trying to curry favors. So that is why people approach Ogas all the time. Oh, by the way, for Nigerians listening to this podcast, don't feel as if Africans we are somehow. It's a perfectly normal thing. It happens all the time. It happens in every single society. Because there's some people who say that, oh, because we chase after Oga here, then it shows that we're backward. Like backward what? It's just a normal fact of human existence. Think about it. Donald Trump, before he entered into office, America was one way. After Donald Trump entered into office, what happened? Everybody go they greet Oga. Even Zuckerberg went to the White House. And who again? And what's his name? Of course, Elon Musk was sharp, so he already situated himself in the corridor. Then, who again now? This Amazon guy. All of them, they went to go and greet Oga. So let's not be saying that Africans were backward. No, it's just normal. It's normal. When there's a high net worth individual and someone who has access to capital and to influence, if you want capital and if you want influence, you will position yourself accordingly. So it's normal. It happens in every society. So don't look at it and say that Nigerians are backward or Africans are backward. It's normal. So the English people approach high net worth individuals, differently. They approach the queen or the king differently. They approach private equity players or people in the venture capital space, differently. They approach industry titans differently. So everywhere we have our culture, whether in the UK or whether in Russia or whether in America, whether in Nigeria, whether in South Africa. But it's normal. Everybody approaches Oga. Now, there's some of you who say there's no need to chase Oga because, God is in charge of your destiny. Very good. I agree with you 100%. So it's not as if you have to chase Oga to get your business going. And that is part of my own drive. I don't want to be beholden to anyone. So that's one of the reasons why I don't hang around Ogas because when I arrive, when I land, I want people to look at me and say, Tarishima, say that nigga is self-made. I don't want anybody to say he was so and so's boy. That's the reason why he is today. Because my father was nobody's boy. My grandfather was nobody's boy. My mother was nobody's girl. You won't say that my mother was associated to anybody. So me too. When I land on the scene, I don't want anybody to say he's so and so's boy. No. I will have boys, but me, I'm nobody's boy. So for those of you who don't want to approach Oga, no problem. I'm with you. However, there are some times that you want to go somewhere. You want to pass through a land or you want to pass through a highway. Unfortunately, you will have to greet the landlord before you pass through. So these things happen. So the definition of an Oga, someone who is a high net worth individual and who has access to capital and influence. So we approach them so that we can achieve business growth, political ambitions, seed investments. The second part of the question, without looking like a beggar. Good. Correct. The reason why we should not appear to be a beggar, especially in this part of the world, is because if you assume inferior social status in Nigeria, people will ignore you. In fact, not just Nigeria, anywhere in the world, if you assume inferior social status, nobody will take you seriously. Sorry, I don't mean to be harsh. Remember, I'm Catholic. And Catholic Church teaches that we all have inherent dignity by virtue of the fact that we are created by God. And so because of that, the president and the house girl, equal dignity, equal status as human beings in the eyes of the Lord. So I'm not here trying to say some human beings are better than others. But I'm just trying to be real with you. If you position yourself as a houseboy, you will be treated as such. If you position yourself as a house girl, you will be treated as such. So that is why I beg people, do not start by assuming inferior social status. You will not be taken seriously, or you'll be used as a tool that you are, or as you've positioned yourself, and you will be disposed of when that time comes. There's a current governor in the country right now, in 2025, who is beholden to the current president. I won't say who that governor is. Everybody knows him. And yes, he's having his day in the sun. But everybody knows that once this president is gone, that guy is finished. Because for his predecessors, it was the same way. They were beholden to the president, although at the time he was not the president. And when that time came and they had served their purpose, they were finished. That is what will happen if you assume inferior social status. So please, when we approach high net worth individuals, there are things we're looking for, but you are not a beggar. Never. You're not a beggar. So I tell people this all the time. Me and everybody else, we're all equal. The only difference is they have more money than me. I've said it on this podcast before, and I will say it again. Me and Dangote, we are equal. It's just that Dangote has more money than me. Me and Tony Elumelu, we are equal. It's just that Uncle Tony has more money than me. In fact, I remember one time when I was a younger man, and then the was she Minister for Finance? I can't remember, Okonji Iweala. I can't remember which TV station she was being interviewed on. And she was sitting in front of her library. Every single book that was behind her, every single book I had read, except two. I was like, okay. Me and Okonji Iweala, looks like we're cool after all. So same thing with Madam Okonji Iweala. Me and her, we're equal. She just has more money than me. Because when she sits and me I sit, we'll be able to have intelligent conversations about a different range of subjects. As far as I'm concerned, me and her were equal. The only difference is she has more money than me. She's a momsy. The only thing I'll say is I'm like her pikin, and she's talking with her kids. So therefore, she will talk with me as well. So please just remember, yes, we need Oga. Don't grovel, please. You are not a beggar. It's part of the thing we're going to talk about on the training when we talk about selling over the phone. There are too many of you that any small thing, you become subservient. You begin to grovel. Like, relax now. Relax. Have some confidence in yourself. Poverty is not a crime. That you have money is not, that you don't have money is not a crime. It's not a sin. It's not a sin. Relax. Calm down. Don't be shaking too much. Anyway, let me move from this topic before this thing becomes a motivational seminar. So now some of you are going to ask, if I'm not going to be a beggar, what is the right posture? And I'm using this word deliberately, posture, because it even shows in our posture, the way we carry ourselves. The right posture in Nigeria is deference. We defer. Here we have a culture of deferring to people who have age, deferring to people who have expertise, deferring to people who have religious authority, deferring to people who have wealth or a certain amount of social recognition. So the thing is, we defer, but we do not do more than that. Groveling is taking it to another extent. So for those of us who watch Indian movies, you see how Indian movie now, the Oga will be sitting on the chair, the guy comes in, he acknowledges you bend down, you touch the shoe. When you touch the shoe, the man will say, my son, rise. When you rise, he will point to the chair, sit down. When you sit down, you now start discussing business. You came in, you deferred to your senior. It is now time to talk business. That's all. When you start groveling, when you start worshipping the sun and the moon, worshipping the ground on which somebody walks. Anyway, sorry, forgive me. This thing vexes me seriously. Because we're chasing money, some people turn themselves to beggars. So, In Nigeria, what we have is a culture of deference. Defer to your senior. That's it. Good morning, sir. Good morning, madam. Good morning, chief. Good morning, KBSC. Good morning, Ovesin. Whatever it is in your language, you defer. But then that is it. Walk into the room confidently. Use the appropriate greetings. Use the appropriate modes of address and the appropriate cultural norms. So for those of you who are Yoruba, where it is appropriate for you to prostrate, prostrate. It's fine. It's just your culture. It doesn't mean nothing. So just like I gave the Indian example, if you don't believe me, watch Indian movies. They touch people's leg. You come in, you touch Baba's leg or you touch Mama's leg. Mama will say, rise, and then sit down. You will now say, hey, Mama, the reason why I came here. And then you start talking. So for Tiv people and some of the tribes in the North Central where you come in and you squat before your senior, it's like that. You come and you squat and you address, you hail your senior. Your senior will say, rise. For Tiv people, if the person is taking you seriously, they'll pat the chair to their left. You come and sit down next to them, side by side. You now know that we're making progress. Now it's time to talk. By the way, this is one of those cultural things, and that's why I say be careful when you read cultural books, because like books written in the West, they will talk about how you come in, you shake somebody's hand confidently, and then you sit at the table opposite them. But I mean, that's good if you're talking about being in the West, but in this part of the world, things work a little differently. In fact, in Tiv culture, if you sit across from someone on the table, sometimes it's adversarial or it's distant. So if you enter the room and the high net worth individual says, hey, come and sit here, and they tap to the left, actually it's a good thing. They are sitting next to each other. So just remember, there's lots of cultural nuance when it comes to these sorts of things. But the right posture is walk in with confidence, use the appropriate greeting, use the appropriate address, defer to people who are your senior. And that's it. It's a good place to start. But confident, please. Remember, yes, you don't have money, but you're a child of God. You're a human being. You're not a beggar. How will I put it? You didn't wake up from under the bridge. Like, you've had your breakfast and you know where your lunch and dinner is coming from. Even if you don't know how you're going to sort out next week. This person is not the person who has your existence in his life. So showing he doesn't have your sustenance in your hand. It's God who is in charge of your sustenance. So show up, defer, appropriate greeting, appropriate address. Then there's another aspect of the question. How do you approach Oga at a wedding without looking like a beggar? Okay, so now this is where I will now how will I put it? Okay, let me put it like this. Is a wedding the right place to be approaching Oga? I mean, we need to think about it seriously. Because people do this all the time. I see it at weddings. The father of the bride walks in. Let's say it's Dangote. Dangote's daughter is getting married. Of course, there's some people who have been trying to get to Dangote for years. And so now that they've been invited to the wedding, now is the time. They think that they can pounce. So next time you're at a wedding and, any of these orgas are around, high net worth individuals, just sit back and watch. Have you seen the number of people that approach them? 20, 30, 40, 50 on the way in. On the way out, another 20, 30, 40, 50. Seriously speaking, do you think you stand a chance of making a good impression in that kind of arena? I really don't think because Chief is here, you might never get another chance. I really don't think now is the best time to approach Chief. Now is the best time to approach Madam. Now is the best time to approach Deaconess or her Honorable Minister of Finance. I'm not sure if this is the right time. Because a wedding is a social engagement. So whether it's a wedding or a naming ceremony or a betrothal or whatever, I really don't think it's the right time. Because when it comes to social engagements, business and networking are not the priority. Yes, there's some shoulder rubbing, some social signaling, and some stuff going on. but that is not the primary priority. So I really don't think weddings and social places are the right place. What I think we should be trying to do rather is to try and look for warm introductions with people or parties who have, that we mutually respect, people who have access. So I've been talking about how one day, me and Dangote were going to be chilling together, going on, on our yachts, and me and Uncle Tony. So before that time comes, my goal is not to ambush Dangote at his daughter's wedding or to go and catch Uncle Tony at his own daughter's wedding or at his grandson's naming ceremony or something. If I can get a warm introduction in other contexts, even in the wedding itself, if I can get a warm introduction and I just show face, I think that's okay to begin with. But honestly speaking, I don't think you're going to make progress at that wedding discussing anything. However, I recognize that, sometimes it's as if, oh yeah, you only get one shot. Now is the time. So if you have no other shot apart from the wedding reception, apart from the wedding festivities, you need to pick a right time. Church is definitely, I don't think, is the right time. If I remember one time I saw this actress, what was her name? She used to be famous. I can't remember her name. Oh, anyway, she's from a famous family in the East. Her father is an archbishop, and so she was big when I was a teenager. And then one time I was in St. Leo's in Ikeja, and then I saw her. I didn't even know she was Catholic, so I went to approach her just to have a conversation. And then she was like, "Oh, young man, this is not the appropriate time, please. We're just about to begin mass." I said, "Oh, fine, that's not a problem. I'll see you after mass." She said, "Okay, no problem." And then before mass finished, she disappeared. I said, "Look at this woman. She put a sharp one on me." Anyway, where was I? So pick the right time. During the service, probably not the right time. Let's see what else. During Thanksgiving, probably not the right time. Too much noise, too much music. Um, at the wedding, when the bride and the groom are marching in, probably not the right time. When dignitaries are marching in and being acknowledged, probably not the right time. So, pick the right time when music not too loud, activity no day too much, and Oga has some quiet time to himself. Because that time in the beginning, when people are marching in, and 20, 30, 40, 50 people are trying to get his attention, and when he's leaving, and 20, 30, 40, 50 people are trying to get his attention, is really not the right time. Then you'll be like a fly. When in the past, when people used to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember. I'm sorry, I can't remember," I used to think they were full of themselves. Until when I was getting married. Now, when I was getting married, of course, you're dancing in with wifey, and people come and greet you. Look, till today, there are people who still say, "Oh, like I was at your wedding, something, something." Like I cannot remember them at the wedding. I can't until I see the picture. Like, this person was truly there. We even took picture. See us on the dance floor. So there are lots of people who have my wedding. I can't remember. Lots of people I had conversations with at the wedding. I can't remember. So this one is just normal. So if somebody is giving you that kind of vibe, no, that it's not necessary that they're forming like the big dog. It's just natural. At these social engagements, people come, people go. You will greet like 500 people that day, so you won't remember. So right timing. Hopefully, you've had a warm introduction before then. Now that our guys are at the wedding reception, remember the conversation framework that we use over here on the podcast. And again, this conversation framework is not something I created. I think it's, I can't remember if it's Grant Cardone or Brian Tracy. But the thing is, since I discovered it, I've been using it, never failed me. So, greeting, intention, question, proposal, close. 5 steps. That'd be easy 4 steps. Greeting, intention, question, proposal, close. 5. Okay, that's 5 steps. So, greeting, you use the appropriate greeting. Remember, the appropriate greeting will be contextual. It depends on your culture. It depends on the relationship that you have with the person, all those sorts of things. So, greeting can be good morning, sir. It could also be Kabiesi. It could also be mommy, long time. It can also be, it depends. But whatever the appropriate greeting is, use it. Then, of course, be a human being. If this is the Oga's son or daughter getting married or grandbaby or something, I mean, do the pleasantries. Congratulations, sir. May God bless our families. Our children will grow up well. This, that. Koni, Baje, this, that. Especially Yoruba people, you know how you do it now. So all of those things. Show up, appropriate greeting, congratulations, word of blessings, word of, it's just normal rapport. Then, intention. State your intention. You cannot discuss anything serious at this wedding. The intention is you're trying to secure a brief meeting after the wedding, after the naming ceremony, after the baptism, after the whatever, so that you can discuss XYZ. So when you get chief or you get honorable minister of finance, when you're able to get her ear, that is your intention. Mommy, no vex. I know this is not the appropriate place, but I beg I would like to you to discuss this, and that. You know, um, can I get some time later? That's just the approach. The goal is get secure a meeting after the social event so that you can discuss whatever it is that you have on your mind. Then, question stage. In this case, the question is going to be very simple. Can I call your PA? If you're talking to Chief himself, you say, can I call mommy? Because it might be more accessible to call mommy after the engagement. When I say mommy, I mean his wife. Or the other way around. If you're talking to honorable minister for finance and maybe the mutual person I introduce to people is her younger sister or something. Can you call Bessie after this? Can you call the secretary? Can you call whoever the mutual contact is so that you can set up a meeting? That's the question that you're going to ask. You want permission. Now, I've spoken about how, on the podcast, about how for me, whenever I'm dealing with high net worth individuals, this Niger is a little bit too forward to ask people for their phone numbers. So if I'm in front of Dangote, it's a little somehow for me to ask Dangote for his phone number or to ask the president for his phone number. But there's absolutely no problem with me asking if I can collect an attache's phone number or a PA's phone number. So when I'm dealing with high net worth individuals, I get as many phone numbers as possible. For the I think it was for the Minister of I think Women Affairs and something a while ago. Luckily for me, actually it was her military. I don't know what you call them. Those people that carry gun and follow them up and down. So it was the guy who collected her my own phone number, and I was like, okay, cool, that works for me. So PA, I'll collect the phone number. Attaché, I'll collect the phone number. I'll collect as many phone numbers as possible, so that I can secure the meeting later, or so that I can have easy entry into the compound later on. Because you know how it is now. You have secured the meeting, you get to the house, but then there's security and all that. Trying to get inside now will be a problem. So that's the reason why I collect everybody's phone number. So by the time I get to the gate, let's say PA said, yeah, show up 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, I'm there. But then PA's number is not going through. No problem. If I have the military attaché's phone number, I'll call him now. So, bro, Alpha now. Of course, he won't remember who you are. Not me now, that guy. So I say, hey, how, blah, blah, blah. So madam said I should come at 10 o'clock. Now I'm outside the house. So he said, may I no enter. Say, hey, who is there? And the guy saying, name na Bayo. Give Bayo the phone. And that's how I get into the building. Now, this was really, really important for me because remember that even though I'm a former lawyer, I started off my business as a wedding photographer, and these things happen. Weddings are very, very busy, and you have to get into places. You have to be able to get into the bride's popsy's house, or you have to be able to get into the hotel room. You have to be able to move here, move there, move freely in the hotel, or in different parts of the house, things like that. So I need access. So I really had to learn this thing, sharp, sharp, sharp. Get in, be respectful, have the attache's phone number, be cool with the security guard, be cool with the house girl, be cool with everybody, so that I can just move freely. So that it won't be that I'm leaving the living room to go to the room to go and take pictures of the bride, and then maybe now the house girl will now start checking me, blocking the way, like, where are you going? So anyway, um, in fact, that's why I enjoyed wedding photography, because it helped me to uh, flex some social muscles that I didn't have at the time. So I quickly had to learn all these things. You know, respect everybody, be on people's good terms. Relate with everybody like a human being. Deal with them on an equal basis. Collect everybody's phone number. Gain access to places. So how did I get here? Okay, yeah. So the point I was trying to make was this: when you're talking with Oga, you're just trying to ask if it's okay for you to call the PA, to call mommy, to call secretary, to call press attaché, to call whoever it is. Once they give you permission, you collect PA's number right there and then. In fact, I prefer to collect PA's number in the presence of Oga. So as Oga says it, I am bringing up my phone and then I look to the PA and then, I collect the number straight right there and then. The PA is not going to store your number. Don't worry, this is it's just normal. But you collect PA's phone number. Then, proposal. Proposal is where you try and put something on the table. So, sir, when people traveling back to Lagos, when I travel back to Ogbomoso, okay, you're traveling back on Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, no problem. I've collected PA's number. I've collected buyer's number. Then you now try and close. To close is try and get people to commit to something. Sir, is it okay if I call buyer Saturday morning and I come by the house? That's it. You're trying to close on something. Now, because this is a social engagement, it's not as if the PA has the diary there to confirm a meeting for you and stuff like that. So be ready to wait. That you show up at 10 o'clock, or guys say 10 o'clock, but be ready to wait. It's just normal. You show up at 10, other people will be there, or guy has gone somewhere, maybe you might see him at 2 or 3. It's just one of those things. So when you go, make sure you take your phone with you so you can listen to podcasts, and make sure you listen to my own podcast. So while you're waiting for Chief, you're learning one or two things. But that is the close. You're trying to get them to commit to a date and to commit to a time or to a certain range. Oh, please remember what I said, though. I really don't think wedding is the place, but I understand that, well, how for do? It's now or never. So, greeting, appropriate greeting, small rapport, congratulations, Happy New Year, God to bless our children, blah, blah, blah. Intention, sir, mommy, no vex. I beg, I'd like to have a small meeting with you concerning this, after the wedding. The question you will ask: can I call Tunde? Can I call mommy? Can I call secretary? Can I call this? Can I call that? Can I blah 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 to set up a meeting after this thing is done? If they say yes, proposal. Sir, when are you traveling back to Ogbomoso? In that case, can I call Kunle on Saturday morning, 9 a.m.? When you go there, be ready to wait. Go with the podcast, go with your keyboard, go with something so you can get some work done. And hopefully, when you're now in the presence of chief, or when you're now in the presence of the honorable minister for finance, or when you're now in the presence of KBSC, so, hopefully then you'll be able to get some work done. But honestly, the wedding, I don't think that's the place. Now there are times when people do that sort of thing, like for Zelensky, that's prime minister for Ukraine. I think for Zelensky and Donald Trump, there was that famous picture of them at the burial of the Pope, Pope Francis. Both of them talking at the burial of Pope Francis. So sometimes it happens that now or never. Or guys here, me I'm here. Sharp sharp. You just because they just took chairs to one corner and they had a sharp sharp meeting. So there are times that it happens, and when that happens, be prepared. But that is not the typical thing. So if you're chasing Donald Trump, chances are you're not going to be able to talk anything serious at that event. The serious talk is going to be after. But of course, be ready so that if it's a Zelensky moment and you and Trump are talking, you can start talking one or two things. But my own opinion, I still maintain social events probably not the best time. The best thing we can do is try and get an appointment for afterwards. So that's it. Let's see. Have I left anything else? Anything out? Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much for listening. Remember, if you'd love to connect, you can call, send me a text message, or send me a WhatsApp message on 080-6466-2140. If you are interested in the training from the 12th of January to the 23rd of January 2026, please reach out as well. And if you love any of the things that we spoke about today, this is the level of granularity, the level of specificity, the very level of practical, tactical, whatever that I want to get with you people. If we're talking about opening a phone call, we actually want to go that deep. What is the right word to use? If we're talking about setting up a meeting, I actually want to go that deep with you. What are the right words to use? What are the right tactics? What are the right... It has to be granular. That's why I don't do pre-recorded. I don't believe in recording courses and I say, all of you go and watch. Then from there, go and answer a question. Then from there, when I give you a certificate, no. Because I want to be relevant, I want to be practical, and I want to make sure that by the time we're done with the training, there is one or two things that you can do tomorrow morning to start moving your business forward. So, I'll be looking forward to hearing from those of you who are interested in the training. And if you're not interested in the training, no wahala. Reach out anyway. Just say what's up. If you have any questions, any comments, you want me to clarify anything, just let me know. And if you feel that there's anything I left out in today's episode, let me know so I can address that in a future episode. So thank you very much for listening. I will catch you all some other time.